Welcome back, everyone, to another interview from the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, we're joined by senior on the Cornell women's lacrosse team, Kylie Gelabert. Kylie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And how is everything going?
It's good. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's a beautiful day, so I'm excited to get this going.
Yeah, well, your team's off to a pretty good start to your season with an 8-4 record at the time of this recording. I guess what have you taken away from your team's performance so far this season, and what you've been doing as a senior as well?
Yeah, so we have a very special group this year. I think we've all felt it kind of from the moment that we stepped on campus in August um everyone knew that it was going to be a special group. This team is made up of 16 seniors this year. So, we have a big chunk of upperclassmen who have been playing together for a very long time. And this is kind of our last time to show what we can do. And the people that are coming in, the freshmen that have come in this year, have just automatically off the bat shown that they're bought in. They're bought into our culture. They're bought into our systems, and everyone is just working hard and kind of fulfilling what Cornell Lacrosse needs to do to be successful. So we've seen that in the beginning of our season, and it's exciting to see what we can do to finish strong.
Now, as a senior, what type of leadership have you tried to bring towards the team? Would you consider yourself more of a vocal leader or lead by example type of player?
Yeah, so I mean, as I mentioned, there's 16 seniors on our team this year. So there's definitely a lot of leadership, and I think that everybody brings kind of their own assets and their own strengths to the table, which is a really cool thing. And it's really fun to work all together and kind of, lead our underclassmen and even, lead each other because we always need someone to lean on. And I think that knowing that we're all there for each other is something that's really special and something that, gives off a lot of leadership for our entire team. I think personally, I am a lead by example type of player. I've always believed that the best way for, my teammates to trust me and to respect me is to show them that I care and that I'm going to do everything that I can do for them on the field and off the field. I think that, my work ethic is consistent with the leadership that I want to portray on this team. So, just, working hard on and off the field and practices and lifts, extra work, putting in extra reps, taking people with you. I think that's the type of thing that goes a long way, especially to people who are looking up to you. I think I'm also on the field. I know like I will give everything that I have to my team in times when they need it, when we all need it. And I want to be someone that they can look to and know that I'm going to be that person to give it all and put it all out there. And in those tough situations, I will vocalize what I think I need to say in the moment to motivate my team or support them through whatever it is we're going through. So a little bit of both, but definitely more of a lead by example type of person.
Yeah, what would you say has been like the biggest improvement you've made to your game so far this season?
We have a new assistant coach this year, Riley Van Holtz. She played at Syracuse. She's our attack coach, helping us out. So we've definitely been, learning a little bit more about kind of just having those stick skills that the Syracuse girls are always, super good at, and having those basics and those fundamentals before trying to take anything too far. So we've been working a lot about just dodging. And for me particularly, I came in as a midfielder. I've been a midfielder my entire life, and I have since been moved to line attack. So it's definitely been a transition for me to kind of, you know, I've always been a feeder, but working on my dodging is something that I definitely needed to improve. And Riley has been a huge help with that. We've been working on that just in different ways from different spots and kind of reading the D. And I think that's one improvement that I've made this year, more than any other year in the past. And I think our whole team has really benefited from those types of improvements.
And I saw that you have earned your 100th career point in your NCAA career. So I want to say congratulations to you on that. That must have felt good to have that individual accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's definitely a testament to kind of like the work ethic I feel I put in. And even as it is an individual accomplishment, I couldn't have done it without my teammates. I think a lot of those points came from assists. I'm pretty split. So And even most of my goals, I would say, came from, my teammates assisting me. So it definitely is a team effort, and I'm very proud of it, but I'm proud of our whole team for accomplishments like that.
So let's talk about the rest of your season. So you have a really tough schedule for the end of the season with some ranked opponents, including UPenn, Harvard, and Yale, who are all ranked in the top 25 in the country. My guess is like, what's your thoughts about those upcoming three games that you have to end off the season, and just talk about the different styles of play that those teams have and what it's going to take for you guys to get those wins based on the conversations and videos that you've watched during practice.
Yeah, it's definitely a very exciting time. The last couple weeks are all Ivy play, all getting us ready for the tournament, and only four Ivy League teams make the Ivy tournament. So these games are all extremely important, and we know that going in, and we know that you can't pay attention to records, you can't pay attention to who beat who. We have to just go back to our basics and play our games, trust in each other, trust in our systems. Um, it's all these teams are also nothing new to us. I mean, we see them every year. We see these same girls every year. We watch a lot of film. We watch a lot of their games. We're always kind of scouting and watching and learning from them too. So I think these teams are good and it's going to be a challenge, but we know that we are also good. I think we are kind of, I would say, one of the best Cornell teams that I've played on thus far. So I'm really excited to kind of, trust in ourselves, take all of our preparation, all of our hard work, and put it towards these next couple games. Um, they're all fast. These are going to be some fast-paced teams that we're up against, and definitely aggressive, but I think that's nothing new. Again, we're a fast team, we're an aggressive team, and I think we're going to be able to fit in just fine and put up a fight. Last night we came off of a hard our nail biter game against Princeton and we lost by one, and it was definitely close, and at the end of the day, like, they're ranked number 8, but we we don't really read into that. I think that was another strength of we had to come back in the fourth quarter. I think we won the fourth quarter 8-1. And I think that just goes to show, like, when we trust ourselves and when we put in the work that we know we've worked so hard all year for, good things will happen. So I think just going back to the basics, trusting in ourselves, knowing that we're playing for each other and we trust each other, and I think that good things are going to happen in the future.
Now, I do want to ask, is there anything you're going to try to take away from that Princeton game heading into these next three games? Because obviously Princeton is a very similar style of attack to a team like Yale, where they're very aggressive and have a lot of depth, but they also have a really good midfield as well. And I feel like that matches up well to UPenn because UPenn's midfield is really good, winning a lot of draws, game possession, which they use in their transition game, which I feel like has made them a lot of success, given them a lot of success. And then obviously Harvard is a team that I feel like has been overlooked all season, so they're going to be hungry for that game. I was curious, like, what things did you take away from Princeton and some of those positives, like you talked about in the fourth quarter, that you think you can bring into the next three games that you have with those different types of playing styles?
Definitely. I think the one thing that we're going to focus on for all three games is coming out strong from the beginning. I think we've gotten the couple games that we've seen that haven't gone our way. We've had a bit of a slow start, and it's no unit's fault. It's not the attack, it's not the D, it's not the draw. I think it's just a collective effort of we need to come out firing right from the beginning. And I think that those games where the outcome didn't necessarily fall our way, we were just a little slow to the jump. So I think that's been a really big focus that even after the game we talked about, and we knew right away that that was something that we were going to want to work on. So all week we're going to prepare for this coming weekend against Harvard and for the next, couple weeks of Ivy League play to just come out strong and start off, on the right foot, right from the whistle, and kind of get in our groove earlier. That way we won't have to, put on another 8-1 quarter, and we won't have to chase, because I think once we have a lead, we can absolutely keep it. And I think that it's important to get there, instead of having to chase after it. So that'll definitely be something. I think our draw control unit has definitely stepped up in the past couple games, and we've played against some really great draw takers and really great draw units. The next three games are going to be very scrappy on the draw. I think we have a very gritty unit. and we all work very well together. We all have the work ethic that needs to be, you know, um, we all know what needs to be done. So I think that that's also going to be another emphasis in practice is just continuing to work on our communication on the circle and draw takers will work on their self draws and it's just going to be a whole team effort. But I think that those slight, not changes, but emphases on those types of things are going to really, really help us in the next coming games.
Well, let's transition now because I want to talk to you about the beginning of your career and sort of what led you to Cornell, I guess. So, doing research on yourself, it says that you're from a town called Victor in New York State. So what was it like growing up there, and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so I'm born and bred upstate New York. I'm from a town called Victor in Rochester. Big lacrosse hotspot, always has been. Rochester has a bunch of club teams, both on the men and women's side, and the towns are super competitive. So I've grown up, playing lacrosse. I think I started when I was 6 years old, and there were just a million club teams to choose from. I didn't even know really where to go or what to choose or who to try out for. So I ended up playing for a couple club teams at the same time. And it was honestly a great experience. A lot of girls from my town were on the same club teams as I was, or on very competitive opponent club teams. So we were all just playing lacrosse all the time. So that was definitely something that helped me in my town. And Victor has always been very good at lacrosse on the men's side and on the female side. So just being able to play with those girls from such a young age and being able to connect and grow our chemistry all the way from youth up till high school was something really special and something that I am very grateful for because that shaped a lot of my career.
Who was like your favorite player or team that you liked to watch growing up? Were you a big Cornell fan, being from upstate New York?
Yeah, to be completely honest, my favorite player, Emily Harishuk, on Syracuse, she was a Victor native. So she grew up in Rochester, played on my high school team when I was very young, and she's now on the New York Charging on the WLL, which is absolutely incredible. And I just think she's one of my favorite players ever to watch and learn from. I've been so grateful to have her live so close to me because I've been getting lessons from her and meeting with her to do, different things, even if it was for 10 minutes. I'm like, hey, I need you to help me on this shot. And we would just go and rep them out ever since I can remember. And I still play with her. I mean, this past winter when I went home over winter break, I'm like, I have one season left and I need to do X, Y, and Z. And she's always there to help me. And I'm just always learning from her and continuing to grow as a player because of her. So she's definitely been an inspiration and a role model for me. A full circle moment, which is kind of cool. My freshman year at Cornell, she was a senior at Syracuse, couple years later because she had some COVID years and some injury years, but I was able to play her at my home field on her last year playing in college. So that was a very cool moment. But yeah, she's definitely been my favorite player to watch and kind of learn from, and I still continue to learn from her to this day. So
Did you get to chat with her after that game? Like, I know you probably can't do like a jersey swap or anything, but that
yeah.
must have been cool to like see her after the game if you got that chance.
Yeah, we got a picture and she expressed some very kind words. So that was a very, very cool thing just to be able to play on the same field as my idol in the lacrosse world. So that was a fun day for sure.
Now, talk a little bit about your high school lacrosse experience. What was that like for yourself? Do you have like a favorite memory from your high school lacrosse days that you look back on and have like think back, I guess the most versus some other ones that you might have?
Yeah, my high school lacrosse career was a little different than most, I feel. But I honestly wouldn't trade it for the world. I learned a lot from it, and I think that's also shaped a lot of who I am today. I got pulled up to the varsity team when I was in eighth grade and became a very big impact player my freshman year. Then my sophomore year, I didn't play at all because I had torn my ACL in soccer the previous season. So I was out for that year. And then my junior year was canceled due to COVID. So I really was bookending my high school experience with a freshman and senior season. Senior season was semi-normal, back to normal, I guess, from COVID. And we honestly did really well. My high school at that point was filled with D1 players and girls who I had mostly played on the same club team with for years and years. So over the years, our chemistry had just kept building, and we had a lot of success on the field, and we ended up going to the state sectional finals, but lost to our rivals, Canandaigua, which was the high school of my club coach had actually coached that high school, and Ronnie Davis, McKenna Davis, if you ever heard of her, was
Oh, she's been
part
on the
of his team.
podcast before. Her and Hannah have.
Yeah. So yes, both of them were on the team that year, and it was a really tight game, but we ended up not being successful against them. But honestly, it was cool to end my high school career with, on the same team as the people who built it. And I'm really grateful for that. So I think that was just I learned a lot, obviously going through an injury at such a young age and going through a global pandemic, which no one really knew what to do. And then to come back and have such an amazing year with such amazing girls was really special for me.
Yeah. I am curious, like, talk a little bit about your club lacrosse experience with Monster and how do you think it sort of helped prepare you for, I guess, college lacrosse with Cornell, since you only had 2 years of really high school lacrosse experience, but not like with Victor at that
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, I owe so much of my success and the person and player that I am to Monster. I joined at a very young age. Ronnie Davis was starting the club, and he had one team. It was, I think, three or four different age groups, all combined. There were a couple from each age, and we would go to these tournaments and play up at like the highest age or the highest division. And it was like a group of this mismatched team of all different ages and girls from all around Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo. And we ended up doing really well. And this kind of just took off. And now there are multiple teams for all different ages. I think there's probably like three or four teams per age. It's a huge club now and very successful. And again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of my Victor teammates had played with me on that club team, and a lot of people around the Rochester area played. And it kind of just became like an it club for upstate New York, which I'm super grateful to be part of and to, know Ronnie and McKenna and play with them and just be so close with them. And they've really built my career and just, our practices were super competitive. We would just go and play. Like it wasn't anything special. It was a lot of fundamentals, a lot of, wall ball on the run, passing and catching, stick work, stick handling, getting the basics down just so that you could grow your game from there. But being really, really good at the simple things, I think made a very big difference and kind of shaped how I still play today and kind of how I, could grow my skills and improve my game. So I have a lot of gratitude for Monster and for the club and for Ronnie. And I obviously still love watching McKenna and Hannah, and I'm excited for them this year. Their team's looking amazing. So it's just been really fun. And I even watch all my other friends on ESPN, and it's cool to see them all out there and doing so well. And it's been a really, really cool thing to see.
Yeah, it must be nice to have Hannah and McKenna on the same team, not having to go up against them like you did with
Yeah.
Victor. So, one thing I also found out about yourself just doing research for this interview was you played soccer growing up. I always like to ask other players I interview, like, what it's like playing that other sport and how it helped you out in lacrosse.
Yeah, I loved soccer. I had also started playing probably when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I played lacrosse and soccer simultaneously for a really long time. And I ended up playing club soccer and club lacrosse at the same time as I was growing up and when I was younger. And I think as for lacrosse, I played on a couple clubs at the same time. And soccer, I was going from travel to club to high school to whatever. So I think that, off the field time management and kind of prioritizing and fueling your body the right way, just learning what works for you, recovery, all of that is super important. But on the field, I think that playing soccer really helped my ability to run and my conditioning. Um, I think that that's something that not a lot of other sports really build. And I was like an outside mid in soccer. So I just remember my practices and games would consist of me like sprinting up and down the field the entire time, and I would be gassed. But at the end of the day, I mean, my conditioning continues to be kind of one of the best on our team here. And I love running, I enjoy it. And I think that that kind of stemmed from that. So that's been a kind of good balance of a skill that came from soccer that I still carry with me today. And then honestly, I think just like game IQ, and any athletic sport or game kind of, shapes the way you play other things. But I think soccer is just having the level of awareness that you need to have on the field with your teammates and being on the same page and trusting each other because you don't have possession like you do in lacrosse. I think those traits are also something that I took with me on the lacrosse field. So I think that that was also a very big help for my lacrosse game.
Now, let's talk about your recruiting process with Cornell. What was that like, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at? I'm curious, like, how it worked out for yourself, especially since they really only had like 1 year of tape on you with, COVID and the ACL injury that you had in high school.
Yeah, so Cornell's fairly close to my house. It's about an hour and a half away. And I remember when we were going through recruiting, I was just coming back from my knee surgery. So I was kind of, brace on, freshly back into the game and definitely felt confident and trusted myself in the process. But I wanted to get a lot of practice and, play in a lot of camps before September 1st, just to, get my mind right and make sure that I was feeling confident. In playing for visits to come. So I came to a summer camp that Cornell was having, and I was like, you know what? This will be a good practice. First, I think it might have been my first camp back, first time playing in front of like college coaches with my knee, and I felt comfortable here. I knew it was close to home. My parents had brought me. They were gonna stay and watch, and I just remember stepping onto that field and absolutely loving every aspect of the camp. I remember we did a tour, like a campus tour, and I was able to meet with all the girls, and there was a panel, and it was just really, really great experience to kind of get to know Cornell on a level that I had no idea um, about since I, was just being recruited and going around to all these schools. So I think that that was kind of like in my mind, I was like, okay, this is a place that I can actually really see myself. And then come September 1st, they had called me back and wanted me to come for another visit, this time where I would go and stay with the girls. And I had been going to all these other camps. I had done all my official visits on to other schools. And at the time, I really wanted to go like ACC or Big Ten. And I just had this vision in my mind because a lot of the girls on my club team, um, it was a very good club team, and a lot of them were headed to these big ACC schools. And that was not necessarily like an expectation, but it was just something that was blessed with our team of talent. So that was kind of always in the corner of my mind. But I really was able to go to this next camp and stay over with the girls and meet the players and just feel what it would feel like to be at Cornell. And there was no, I right then I knew I was like, this is where I want to be. So it was kind of like I'm sure everybody says, but just like a when you know moment, and just stepping on that campus, I knew that that's where I wanted to be. And then I got really excited about the Ivy League aspect and the academics and everything else that comes along with it. And just the culture, Cornell's culture is unlike anything I've ever experienced. And unlike any school that I've ever seen. I don't know if you're familiar with the Hard Hat book by John Gordon, but I had read that in high school and it was absolutely like mind blowing to me, and it has changed my life. And we continue to, fall back on the hard hat every single day here, and it's built into our program, and it's something that we lean on, and that's like the foundation of our program. So I just think it's so sentimental to me, and I just knew that that's exactly where I wanted to be.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about the Ivy League aspect of it. What's it like, I guess, being a part of that conference? Because whenever me and my co-hosts do like our weekly sort of recap, we talk about how like underrated the Ivy League, especially this year, because it's been super competitive with teams like yourself, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, just to name a few. Even a team like Brown, who I think gets overlooked. And like you said, only four of those teams are going to be in the conference playoffs coming up. So, what's it like being a player in that conference and just that competition that you face each game?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the Ivy League is definitely a little underrated, and we have a lot of regulations and rules regarding our hours, which I don't think a lot of people know. And in the fall, all throughout the fall, we only practice twice a week. and we are able to lift and condition 3 times a week. And I know other schools are practicing every single day. And it truly does make a difference. And I think that again, that's a testament to how much we respect each other, how much we trust each other, how much we know we're putting in the work. We have to put in a lot of extra work because we simply just can't be together as much as we would like to be on the field. And I think that seeing how well the Ivy League is doing in the NCAA right now, it's really impressive, and I have so much respect for all of the Ivy Leagues because we all have these regulations, and we even now we have I think less hours than other schools. So it's I mean it is a bit of a disadvantage, I'd say, but it's incredible to see how well that people are doing and how much the chemistry looks on every single team because I think it's building and it just goes to show how much people really trust each other and kind of the love they have for each other on their teams. So it's very impressive and it is like a challenge to kind of put in all the extra work and try and make time for everybody to be on the same page when you don't have the hours that other teams have. But it makes us us, and we know we have that little hill that we need to climb to be on an even playing field with other teams. So it it makes us stronger in the end, I think.
Yeah. I do want to ask, as a freshman, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse? I assume for your team it was a lot just because you had the class of 2020 because they had that, I guess, actually had their sort of season pushed back to your class season, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to
Yes.
articulate that well,
Yeah.
but I'm just curious, like, what was sort of like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse with such a young team your first year?
Yeah, I mean, I think with any team, there is a bit of pressure to prove yourself. I think especially as a freshman, you want to come out and be an impact player. And with 4 grades of girls, in my case, above me who were there at the time, um, like we had a lot of talent and our team was very good. And, it's always pressure. It feels like a lot of pressure to kind of improve yourself, but again, pressure makes diamonds. And I think that that's something that, once you realize that you're all working together for the same success, you all progressively get better. Personally, for me, I would say my biggest adjustment was um, I had been to a Cornell camp in July before coming to campus my freshman year, and I had retorn my meniscus in my knee at this camp. So it was like 2 weeks before I was coming back to campus, and I was just like, oh, like this is the worst timing. I can't even believe it. And it ended up that I was out my entire freshman fall. So I wasn't really able to play. I wasn't able to be on the field. I wasn't able to prove what I wanted to prove and what I had worked so hard for. And I was, going through all my rehab and going to PT and then trying to keep up with my stick skills and do all this stuff as a freshman who's entering the Ivy League for the first time and taking these classes. And it definitely was a difficult adjustment, but um, again, I think the support that I have on my staff and on my training room and on my team, it was incredible and it really just helped it seem super seamless.
Now, one thing that I'm going to be doing every interview now is finding a teammate and just asking players about that teammate just to get to know them more, even though they're not being interviewed. And the teammate that I picked for you was Ella Wilmot, who's had an unbelievable season. What's it like, getting the chance to play college lacrosse with her, and what makes her a special player from your perspective?
I have so much to say about Ella. I've known her, she's a Rochester native as well. So we've been playing with each other and against each other for years and years. She also played on Monster and we both started at a very young age. So we've been playing with each other for so long. We know each other's tendencies. We kind of know exactly how each other plays and kind of the best ways to work off each other, which is something that's really cool that not a lot of people have coming into a college team with. I remember we actually played 2 club teams simultaneously together, which was kind of fun. We were bouncing back and forth and we were always super busy, but I think that kind of built our chemistry at such a young age. And we built such a foundation off of playing with each other and being around each other and then playing against each other in high school. And I think that, that competitive edge, but also being able to work together and kind of, know each other's tendencies and skills and work to each other's strengths has been something that's super fun to bring to the college level. And something that it's such a full circle moment to be able to play at the highest stage with the people that you've grown up with and the people that have built you up around the sport. So I love playing with her. I think she's also super fun to watch. She's one of the quickest, shiftiest people I've ever seen and ever had the pleasure of playing with. So I think that's a testament to how hard she works and the effort that she puts in. She's been through a bunch of injuries as well, and she just continues to come out the other side. And I'm very proud of her, and I just love playing with her. And I'm excited to see, everything that she'll be doing in the future, but also excited for the next couple weeks with her.
Now let's transition to a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you some non-lacrosse questions and to get to know you more off the field. I'll answer some of these as well to make it fun. One that I just thought of on the top of my head though was, since you go to an Ivy League school, what's been your favorite class you've ever taken at Cornell?
It's a great question. I've definitely taken some like very odd random classes that fulfill some requirements, but now that I'm a senior, I'm actually taking the classes that I can choose and really enjoy. And I've been taking a consumer behavior class, which is actually part of Cornell's MBA program, but you can take it as an undergrad. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been just really cool. It's kind of like the psychology of why people buy what they buy and how marketers can kind of use that to their advantage when trying to sell their products. So
Yeah,
that's been a fun class to learn about.
that is definitely interesting. I assume it's a little bit different when they're marketing to men versus women.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Now, yeah, that's definitely interesting. I don't think I've taken a class that interesting. I would say honestly, my favorite class I've taken at college so far is music. That's been really interesting learning about different like styles of music from like way back in the day that I never even like listened to that frequently, but now I do just because it's really interesting hearing like the background about how it was composed and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow, like the history of music.
Yeah, yeah. So it's about like they basically go through different like eras. So like there's the classical era, which is like Mozart, Bach, all those kind of stuff, and then it sort of leads into like the 1960s, 70s. Like it's just like a different era. It's really cool. I really enjoyed it a
It does
lot.
sound cool.
Like I learned about like how the Beach Boys sort of helped revolutionize like studio albums because of like the vocal like tracks that they did and how they layered them. And then we
Wow.
listened to like the isolated vocals for God Only Knows, and it was just like really cool to hear like how they sort of changed and el I guess made music evolve even more from that time
Yeah.
period. And they did it when
Wow.
they're like my age basically, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
That's impressive. Would not be good at that. Not my strong suit.
I would love to be a musician. I'm just not a good singer, so it just probably
Oh,
won't work out. But I've learned how to play the drums, so hopefully I can
oh,
play the guitar, and then that would be kind of cool just to be in the
there you
background a
go.
little bit.
Yeah, you could start a band.
Exactly, exactly. That would be a lot of fun. Now, another question I have for you is, what's been the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Um, I guess more exciting than interesting, but I watched the women's basketball national championship game today. That's the first thing that comes to my mind just because of how much it's being talked about and how exciting the games are to watch. And I'm happy for UConn. I'm happy for Paige Beckers. I feel like it's been a ride for her and she
Hmm.
definitely deserves everything that she's gotten. So that was really fun to watch. And I guess the most interesting thing recently that's been on top of mind.
Yeah, obviously really happy UConn. I'm a big fan of UConn. If you could
Mhm.
see my background right now, I have like a jersey up somewhere, so. I'm big fan of the UConn men's hockey team, though. That's my team, and one of my favorite memories. I always like telling this to Cornell people because they'll obviously love it. Was one time we decided to take a trip to New York City to watch them play Cornell at Madison Square Garden like
Oh
a couple
yeah.
of years ago, and I was so excited. The puck dropped, and then they got completely destroyed. It was like a 6-0
Yeah.
Cornell win, and
I was at that
those
game too.
those Cornell fans were so mean. They were like yelling
Yeah.
at me, like they did not like
Oh
us
no.
at all. But
Oh
that was
no.
a very fun experience outside of just like the game being played. But
Yeah.
luckily, UConn has done a lot good stuff in hockey since then. But that's like one of my most memorable UConn hockey moments. So I like sharing
Oh
that
my
with Cornell
gosh.
people.
That's funny. Yeah, my friends and I all went to that game, but it was not me who was yelling at you. Guarantee you that.
I would have probably remembered. So it was an older gentleman. That's all I'll
Oh,
say. So, but
oh,
it's pretty cool how you guys fill that up every year. I didn't
yeah.
realize how big of a deal it was.
Yeah, it's a cool tradition that I'm excited to keep going to.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now, speaking of Cornell, who has the best style on the Cornell women's lacrosse team? It could be a current teammate or like a former teammate as well.
Yeah, I would say my fellow senior attacker, Maggie Pons, has really cool style. She's a big thrifter. She's very into thrifting, and anywhere she goes, she finds the coolest pieces or accessories or just like eclectic clothes and makes it look super, super cool. And she gets everything for like $3. And I feel like it truly is like a hidden talent that I would love to learn how to find. But it's really cool seeing how she styles herself and kind of the clothes that she finds. So I would say her.
If you were stuck on a deserted island and you had to pick any of your teammates to sort of keep yourself busy, which teammate are you picking?
I would pick two seniors in my house that I live with. I would pick Josie Vogel and Emma Kalkani. They make me laugh like no one else. And I feel like if I were stuck on a deserted island, I would at least be happy if I was laughing. And
Yeah,
definitely lots of good talks, lots of good activities, and just being able to talk with them. We might not be the most effective in using our surroundings to survive, but it would be
yeah,
fun.
yeah. I had Josie on the podcast this past summer, and
Yeah.
she was really fun to talk to, so I could see why you picked that answer. We need to have Emma now on so we can have the whole house on the pod for at least one
Yeah,
episode.
you should. You should. She would make you laugh.
Now, what is one show you can binge watch all day?
Friends. I am the biggest Friends advocate, and I think I might have seen it start to finish at least like 8 to 10 times in my life. It's definitely a show that I just throw on when I'm doing something else, and I really never get tired of it. So definitely
Yeah,
Friends.
similar answer to you, The Office for me.
Yeah.
And then last non-lacrosse question is what is one place you would love to travel to soon?
My house is taking our senior grad trip after graduation to Bali in Indonesia and then Bangkok and Phuket in Thailand, which I'm very excited for. I've never been to Asia, so 9 girls traveling will definitely be an experience, but I'm very excited for that and looking forward to it. So those are my answers for that.
So that's awesome that you're going to Asia. I don't know if I could do that flight though. That seems like that's how long is it? Like 16 hours or something like that?
Yeah, I think our first like flight is 16 hours and then we have a layover with another maybe like 5 or 6 hour flight after that, which I also am a little nervous for, but I think maybe I'll just take some melatonin and try and knock out.
Yeah. Well, you also have to like part of you probably has to stay up for a few hours to sort of adjust to the time zone when you land. So that's got to be something to think
True.
about too.
Yeah, that is true.
So I don't know. I think once you get that all figured out, then it'll be a fun trip. But that'll be my one sort of thing that would give me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, we'll think about that. We'll make sure that we do
Hmm.
that the right way.
Mine is pretty boring. It's just like different places in the US, like California, Vegas, Texas. I think parts of the East Coast would be cool too. Just feel like there's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen here yet that I would want to explore.
Agreed. Then that's not boring at all.
Now let's get back to a few lacrosse questions now to end things off. My first question to you is, what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
Yeah, I think just marketing it and watching it more. I think advertising the game and how much it's grown and how successful these women are. I know the WLL is up and running and it's incredible to watch. And I've had a lot of fun watching like Emily and my former friends and people that I've grown up watching play against each other. It's just been such a cool experience. So I'm excited to see that continue and then also more talk about the 2028 Olympics. I think that that's incredible and it's such a huge step for the game on the men's and women's side. And I think that that's going to open a lot of doors in the future for countries and even people who don't know much about the sport and see it being played as an Olympic game for the first time. And I'm really excited to watch all of that and to see how that happens and to see where it goes from there.
Yeah, that should be fun too. I can't wait to see Izzy Skate and Charlotte North on the same team. That's going to be fun to
It's
watch.
gonna be epic.
Now, what advice would you give to younger players that are listening to this episode on what it takes to be in the position that you are now as a college lacrosse player?
Yeah, I think just keep playing and keep working hard because you're having fun. I think a lot of times that kind of gets away from you and the joy of the game and the love that you have for the game can get caught up in kind of the stress of, competition and playtime and just a bunch of factors that kind of can suck the joy out of it. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is I play my best when I'm having fun. And a lot of that goes to my team and my teammates and just, having that trust in each other and being supportive of each other and building the relationships and the foundations that we have because it's so much fun to play with your friends. And I think that that's one thing that I've wished, I look back in my career and I've been so stressed at times about this and that. And I mean, as a college player, like you definitely have to balance a lot of things and juggle a lot of things and prioritize certain things over others. But I think just going back to why you play and knowing that it's a game that you love and you have fun when you play, that's truly when you play your best. So I would say to keep having fun and find the joy in the little moments. And then for anyone being recruited, I think comparison is the thief of joy. I don't think that anyone should be, getting caught up in who's going where or, different just comparing yourself to other people. I think that everyone is meant for a specific school and it's going to happen. Everything that's meant to be will be, and you just have to trust your work, your preparation, and everything will come the way it's supposed to.
Well, Kylie, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule and coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time and your flexibility as well. And obviously, I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and I'm wishing you all the best for the end of your regular season. And hopefully, we can see some more Big Red lacrosse in the playoffs.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed answering your questions and it's very exciting. I hope that, this next couple week stretch will be a good one for the Big Red.